What's up, YouTube fans? Welcome back to the AJ Speed Shop YouTube channel. Today I'm coming back to you with a small update in reference to my last video where we had finished the hot rod tour of Texas. And we had to cut the trip short by one day, ran into some technical problems with the Buick. And I did manage to make it home, and we started tearing everything apart to find out what all happened. Brief recap is the turbo had started making noise, the posi unit and the rear end had started making noise, it developed an oil leak, and one of the front brakes started dragging. So for a car that I've drove 4,000 miles in this past year with no issues, and all this stuff started popping up all on one trip when we get out of town. So anyway, we make it back, I tear everything down. Currently, I'm prepping for the Hot Rod Power Tour, which we leave June 10th for. So I was about 6 weeks out at the time that we got back from the Hot Rod Tour of Texas. So I started thrashing to get the car apart, get some parts shipped off so we could get the ball rolling on these repairs. I sent the turbo off to Works Turbo in Alabama because it had broken a turbine wheel. So I sent it in for a full rebuild. I pulled the front wheelwood brakes off, and I sent them back to Wheelwood to have the calipers rebuilt and tested. And I started working on the rear end. And so the posi unit itself was rebuilt and back in December, and it seemed fine, but apparently it wasn't. So I bought a Detroit True Track and I originally attempted to install it myself. Well, upon setting it up, I could never get the pattern right, and I had a tight spot in the rotation of the ring gear. So I decided to pull the whole rear end out, take it to a local drivetrain shop. I had the whole thing completely rebuilt. New gears, new bearings, new seals, the new True Track unit, and the Moser axles that I currently had. So at this point now, I have the rear end back in the car, the turbo is still at the shop, the brakes are back on, and the car is back on the ground. So I'm making progress. I didn't film all these repairs, but I do have some short clips and some just some pictures I'm going to put in the video right here. And here we are, missing a major component right here. Hopefully that thing shows back up later on this week. I did get my charge pipe right here re-chromed after the last trip. For some reason it decided to start peeling off, so I pulled it off and I took it back to the chrome shop while I was waiting on the turbo. And I got new plugs in it, and I got the 75-pound injectors swapped out. So really, I just need to get the turbo back on it and start tuning it. It needs a good cleanup. It's going to need an oil change right before we leave. And then hopefully we'll have better luck on this trip than we did this last one. I did get the brakes working really well. There's no more dragging on the left front brake. I also found the source of the mysterious and very slow oil leak that I apparently developed while I was on the Hot Rod Tour of Texas as well. That turned out to be a pinhole in the oil feed line to the turbo. And when you would just watch it while the car was idling, you didn't really see it. But when I got home and I pulled the oil feed line off and plugged it so it would pressure the line up, I was able to find the leak. So I did have a new turbo oil feed line made for it. That is this line right here. So we should have that problem resolved. Hopefully all these little small problems that tried to snake bite me on this last trip, I will have no issues with on this next trip, hopefully. But we will see. So you can see at this point, after about the last month, we've made some pretty good progress in getting all this stuff fixed. I am kind of running it down to the wire. Another change that I did want to make is I wanted to pull the 160-pound injectors out and go back to 75 pounds just for this trip. Normally, I run the 160s. The car's on E85, has a flex fuel sensor set up, and the thing runs great on E85, and it runs decent on 93. However, when idling on 93 octane, the ECU just cannot pull enough out of the injectors to get a good, clean, lean idle. And I did notice when I pulled the plugs out after this trip, on the short amount of idling I did do, the plugs were pretty fouled. So with the Hot Rod Power Tour, a lot of the venues take sometimes as much of as an hour to get into some of the venues. So I decided to go ahead and put the 75-pound injectors back into it. As soon as I get the turbo back, I'm going to retune the car on 75-pound injectors and meth, for 93. And that's just how I'm going to run it on this trip. I don't plan on beating on the car on the trip, or not much anyway. I'm not worried about making power. I just need to make it reliable and be able to idle good on 95-degree days with the AC on and have a good clean idle and not be worrying about fouling plugs over a course of a 4,000-mile trip. So I've already got the 75-pound PTE injectors in it now, and I'm really just waiting on the turbo to get here so I can fire this thing up and start tuning it. I need to break the rear end in. I'm supposed to heat cycle the rear end a few times and then put about 200 miles on it, dump the gear lube out. I need to do an engine oil change, and that's going to bring us up really close to time to leave for the power tour on the 10th. So I'm hoping I get the turbo back within this next week. I get it on the car and I get some of this stuff done because I'm really running it down to the wire on this one, and I hate to head out on a 4,000-mile trip without having the car really well tested. But it looks like that's probably going to be what's going to happen. So you guys know what's probably going to be coming with this one. Anyway, that's a short update. The power tour prep does begin. I'll probably get another video in showing further prep as we get closer to time and show you some things I'm going to try. And we'll see how everything goes. Of course, I'm going to have all the power tour footage coming. And I'll try to do probably not daily updates, maybe every other day updates. So anyway, thanks for staying tuned and keep watching my videos. I appreciate all the comments. And if you guys have not already subscribed to the channel, please do so. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.